Hello again. Well, we're off to clip three of Luke Roziak's best-selling education book, Race to the Bottom. I'm starting off on page 11 for this clip. And now we're talking about the unions and their role. This is still early in the pandemic, 2020-2021. Educators spent an inordinate amount of time evoking liberal platitudes instead of focusing on reading, math, and science. But even this was little more than a charade. As teachers forced an extended economic shutdown, women's role in the workplace was set back a generation as childcare fell to mothers. More than 2 million women left the workforce in 2020. In December 2020, women lost 156,000 jobs while men gained jobs. As Fairfax County sent its empty buses on their polluting, spewing rounds in order to keep drivers employed, the environmentalists on the school board did nothing. Untold numbers of young children were left at home day after day in heavily minority neighborhoods of single mothers working blue-collar jobs. But union leaders who constantly invoked racial inequality had made their choice. Whether a school system was open or not correlated less with the rate of coronavirus in an area than with the strength of the local teachers union. In right-to-work states, roughly 38% of districts offered full-time in-person classes. The figure was around 13% in states with progressive laws mandating union membership. Minorities are more likely to live in liberal areas. Shockbeat, an education nonprofit news organization, lamented in September 2020 that districts where the vast majority of students are white are more than 3 times as likely as school districts that enroll mostly students of color to be open, saying it would exacerbate inequities. This is, by the way, the outfit that can't stop screaming about equity. What kind of people would exploit a moment of national vulnerability for their own gain? And if they would do this, what else have they been doing all these years? Well, so I'm going to skip forward to Los Angeles. In this case, the child was their hostage. The ransom they demanded was money and unrelated ideological concessions, observing that local policies often set the precedent for more progressive moves at the state and national level. The union set out a list of demands for extreme progressive policies, many of them having nothing to do with schools. These were laid out in July 2020 research paper, which would have earned any student a failing grade. The demands began. 1. Defund the police. Police violence is a leading cause of death and trauma for Black people. It supported this with a footnote pointing to the 2018 paper that said no such thing because it's simply not true. The Los Angeles Teachers Union went on to make a series of New Deal-like demands, such as that housing be a human right and that undocumented immigrants get welfare. When their demands did relate to schools, they had little to do with children. They called for a moratorium on charter schools, which are viewed favorably by Democrat minority parents as an effective pathway out of poverty, but opposed by the union because if these parents chose them, it could drain resources from the district that pays the union members. By late October 2020 in Chicago, which, by the way, is the home of Prince William County's Superintendent Dr. McDade. Listen to the rest of this. With the schools closed for 7 months straight, the Chicago Teachers Union refused to even discuss a return to in-person learning, even as hundreds of private schools in Chicago are open. A school district spokesman said, CTU, Chicago Teachers Union, continues to obstruct and mislead the public. The union was hiding behind children. Our youngest and most mentally vulnerable students deserve safety, the union said. Illinois recorded only a single resident under the age of 20 who had died of the disease by that month. Apparently an 8-year-old college student home in the state because his college was conducting classes online. In late December 2020, 17 Chicago physicians implored the city schools to open, and so forth. So let's summarize here. Before the pandemic, a third of Chicago's kids, nearly 90% of whom were minorities, were chronically absent from school. Only about a quarter passed state math exams. 77% graduated, and most who went on to college needed remedial courses. In December, Chicago Teachers Union said, the push to reopen schools is rooted in sexism, racism, and misogyny. Teachers hadn't given students the skills to be successful in the modern technology or economy, but they made of them useful pawns for the ideological battles the unions seem to care about more. So there you go. This is a tale of powerful unions, in this case, dictating what happens to your kids. And it's painful to read. Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to keep all of these under 10 minutes if I can. And look forward to clip number 4. Have a great day and go in liberty.